Hi friends, one idea that I want to share with you today is this. There's this question in therapy that arises quite often. People ask me, well, should I be more cerebral, should I use my mind more or my heart more? Is it about the mind or the heart? Should I think or should I feel? And those types of questions arise quite often in different contexts. And I was reminded of something, of the importance of our words for two different reasons. If you look at it, for instance, from a biblical perspective, and this is not about religion, it's just a matter of, our culture, these biblical ideas are impregnated into culture in a very dramatic way. And the very notion that God would have said, who would have spoken the words, let there be light, and there was light, remind us of the importance of our words. You see, so God says or said, let there be light. And then it also says that we are created in the image and likeness of God, which means that we can also create light or good things into our lives by virtue of using our words. Now, in the New Testament, there's a beautiful passage where somebody asks Jesus whether it's okay or not to eat meat, and Jesus says, look, think about it. What goes into you doesn't defile you, doesn't damage you. What damages you is what comes out of you. And what comes out of us is our words, what we speak. So once again, in a different context, the notion that our words can make or break us is very much present there. Now, this, of course, is the biblical perspective, which may or may not be appealing to you. But if you look at modern concepts about the effect of our words in the quality of our lives, you realize that that which we speak actually creates, now again, these are not scientifically accurate terms, but it sort of creates a magnetic field around us, which then attracts different kinds of situations into our lives, into our sphere of influence. So there's no question, experiments show that the way we speak, the manner in which we speak, does create our circumstances. So in therapy, for instance, in hypnotherapy, in hypnosis, people come over with all sorts of problems and they resolve these problems. And the active ingredient of our therapy, we don't use medications or physical manipulations. The only thing we really use are words. So the power of the spoken word to effect a change in a person's life is absolutely amazing. And you can actually change your life by changing the way you speak. Now, when it comes to how we should speak, people always ask, well, should they speak positive or negative? Should they say A or B, this or that, And here's just a thought that I wanted to convey to you. If you want to change the way in which you speak, and if you want to create a better life for yourself, take this little image with you. Now, again, this might be pure coincidence, or maybe this is by design for those of you who are creationists. But think of where you normally would think of your heart being located and where your mind would be located, and look at your voice box, your larynx actually is. And if you look at it, it's about halfway in between. In other words, our throat, our spoken word centers, our voice comes from somewhere in our body that is about halfway between heart and mind. And this reminds me that that which we speak should be a healthy combination of mind and heart. So mind has to do with intelligence, coherence, and the heart has to do with love and forgiveness. So notice that the heart, if you look at a person standing up, is underneath the mind or underneath the throat. And it's in yoga, for instance, sometimes it is said that the heart is the center of fire in the body. That's why they call it Agni. Agni is like fire, Agni chakra. And it's interesting because fire warms or heats up. So it is almost as if, the love and forgiveness from the heart sort of comes up a little bit and warms up our words, which come down from the mind. They say what comes down from the mind, cool air kind of sinks down, right? So the mind is cool and calculating, whereas the heart is warm and forgiving. And as these two meeting the center, our words are a perfect combination. So it seems like the heart should warm up our intelligence, In other words, our intelligence becomes guided by love and forgiveness, which emanates from the heart. So if you think of a person, for instance, who has their hearts closed, what happens is they become very cerebral, very analytical, very mental, right? And although that may be very good for certain areas of their lives, it creates some problems in some other areas. So the person typically becomes either sarcastic or very negative because that's how the mind sees the world, right? And then they'll tell you that they're not being negative, they're being realistic because that's how life is, which is fine. But notice what happens. The more we express our words through the lenses of the mind, right, the more we express negativity, sarcasm, the more we attract negativity into our lives. And how does the mind interpret that? Well, the mind interprets that as confirmation that we're right. See, I'm right. Look, the world is in fact horrible. There's negativity all over the place. The more that we confirm that, the more negativity we express, and therefore the more negativity we attract. The more we attract, the more we confirm. And we get into this downward spiral, this loop, this vicious cycle that actually tears the person apart eventually. They become very bitter. In some cases, all kinds of other problems develop because they begin to attract that. And it's very difficult at that point to convince a person that part of their problems, that their problems are created by them and by the way they speak and by the way they see the world. Now, if you think of the other extreme position, a person who's all heart but no mind, if that person doesn't use any intelligence, the question then is, how do they navigate this world? How do they get by? How do they pay bills? How do they drive a car? How do they pay their taxes, right? So it becomes a little bit of a problem there. And they might attract great people into their lives, but they might attract people who are equally absent-minded, hence the expression. And that creates sometimes a problem. So it seems like we end up attracting our circumstances through our words, and our words come from a part of our body that is somewhere between heart and mind. When those two connect in equal dosages, and we express them into the world, we end up attracting the most balanced and beautiful life available to us. So give this idea some thought and let me know how you think. Make sure to like this video if you would. It would mean a great deal to me. Please subscribe to the channel, and by all means, let me know what you think by commenting below so that we can engage in a dialogue about this. Thank you.